Hello, everybody, and thank you so much for joining us for this Leadership Forum and Awards. Today, we are very excited to have this wonderful conversation. We will discuss the importance of advancing women in leadership and creating a culture of belonging. I am Lisa Della Garza, Vice President of Programs with Texas Women's Foundation, and I am very excited to listen in on this conversation with all of you. But before I introduce our guest, I also want to welcome those joining us online, so welcome. And please feel free to use the chat to engage with one another, to ask questions for those online. And we will do our best to get to all of those questions, both in person and online. And for those who don't want to miss the other forums, do not worry, they are all being recorded, and you will get to have access to them for 7 days following today. So keep your unique link that we sent you, and you'll have access to that. And now I'd like to introduce Maura Award recipient Lynn McBee. Lynn has worked more than 45,000 hours of service for more than 30 nonprofit groups. Her work has made a difference on issues like improving education, serving the homeless, protecting children, fighting domestic violence, and helping underserved students succeed in college, and has partnered with ISDs to improve student achievement. She has served more than 8 years as the CEO of Young Women's Preparatory Network, a public-private partnership that creates STEM-focused schools of choice in all-girls settings. To date, Young Women's Preparatory, this is really impressive. You wink, because you know, don't you?
I know
To date, Young Women's Preparatory Network grads have a 100% college acceptance rate. That's just amazing. Yay, I know. And many of them are first-generation college students. This is also impressive. As a biochemistry graduate from the University of Texas, she has worked for 30 years with New England Biolabs as a research scientist, manager, and employee owner. She has won numerous awards for her work, most recently the 2021 Juanita Craft Humanitarian Vision Award. And she was recently appointed the Workforce Development Czar for the City of Dallas by Mayor Eric Johnson. Congratulations on that. Also joining us today is someone who helped make this forum possible, Michelle George of Texas Capital Bank. Michelle, thank you so much. We appreciate your support in bringing these meaningful conversations together, and I will hand it off to you.
Well, thank you so much. It is an honor to be here and have the opportunity to support this work and to be with one of my sheroes today, so I can't wait for this conversation. Texas Capital Bank has always been committed to helping build and transform the communities we serve through strategic investments and services geared toward the most underserved communities. Our Community Impact Program exists to remove barriers that stand in the way of communities becoming healthy, resilient, and prosperous. And we envision communities where all families have access to equitable quality of life, an education that will prepare them for success, and the support they need to thrive. And Texas Capital Bank shares those values with the Texas Women's Foundation, and we've built a great partnership together through the years. We support this event every year, and we also sponsored the 3-year study, Economic Issues for Women in Texas. And we helped roll out the study with a panel featuring nonprofits who are addressing the deepest needs for women in Texas. And we continue to partner with Texas Women's Foundation and other nonprofits who are doing this important work for women in Texas in our most vulnerable communities. So Texas Capital Bank's mission is to be the flagship financial services firm in Texas, and we do that through our core values: to act with transparency, to be accountable, to commit to excellence, and to foster a culture of trust through collaboration, inclusion, and respect. And one of the ways we fulfill our vision and values every day is through our work in underserved communities, especially when it comes to serving women and girls who need it most. And every year we give approximately $500,000 toward causes and nonprofits that specifically serve women and girls. Single mother heads of household are one of the most marginalized groups in our society. And we work every day to uplift these women and help them thrive. So here in Dallas, we support organizations, in addition to the Texas Women's Foundation, such as Genesis Women's Shelter, who I'm sure we all know and love. We've also made a significant investment in Parkland Hospital's Breast Cancer Center, because we know that early detection is a real issue for women who lack that access to preventative care, especially if they're uninsured or underinsured. With that new facility, we're supporting that access to early detection as well as treatment services in a caring, dignified, and if I may be honest, beautiful environment. And we're also heavily involved in supporting women in STEM, which is part of why I'm so excited to talk to you about that today. We sponsored a coding lab at the Girl Scout Center, STEM Center for Excellence, which teaches kids to code. And we also have a women's resource group at the bank that actually volunteers to help these kids learn how to code and really prepare them for the careers of tomorrow. We do several other things across the state. We support business ecosystems in Houston that are specifically geared toward minority and women-owned businesses to help them create those networks to be able to build and scale in an equitable way in their communities. But enough about me. It's not about us today. Today is about recognizing women leaders who are making a huge impact in our community. And I am thrilled to be here with Maura Award winner and my shero, Lynn McBee, today. Thank you for being here today.
Absolutely. Thank you.
So let's get started with our first question. So I want to start off by talking to you about your philanthropy journey. I know a lot of us recognize your name in the philanthropy world, and I would just love to hear about how you got started in that journey.
Sure. Well, first I want to thank Texas Capital Bank for sponsoring today, but also for all of the work that you're doing across the state to help women. And I also want to thank all of you for coming, and also Texas Women's Foundation for this wonderful, prestigious, and very meaningful award. So my philanthropy journey, I can take it all the way back to being a very young girl in a very small town with 3 very strong women around me: my mother, my grandmother, my great aunt. Very strong in different ways, plus having 2 sisters. So my dad, of course, was a very quiet man because he had 6 women in his life. And you know, when you grow up in a small town, the inequities that are there are very apparent. Everybody goes to one school. You know, you can live in the city of Dallas. Depending on where you live, you will never see some of the disparities that exist in our city that are very troubling. So when you grow up in that and you have parents that teach you that, you know, this is not how we, you know, this is not the way things should be, and how we're going to make it better for our neighbors, and that kind of neighborly, we're all in it together. And if we're a strong community, we're a better community. And so that started at a very young age. And today I'm very honored and humbled to be able to lead Young Women's Preparatory Network, which is about giving girls that do not have, you know, just by virtue of their zip code that they're born in, they are extremely bright and they're full of promise, but without our private investment in the public system, they're not going to achieve their fullest. And so it's a real honor to be able to lead this work and to have other girls be able to, you know, rise up and reach what's capable for them.
I love that. So a lot of your work is focused on education and workforce development, which we care very deeply about as well, and we have that in common. And we believe that quality education breeds a lifetime of success. So tell us about how those themes are represented throughout your work.
Sure. So originally, as you said earlier, I have a degree in biochemistry, and I was working very hard with a biotech company, still involved in the biotech company. And so when I think about myself and that foundation in science and our schools and what we're able to do, our schools have a focus on STEM. Women and girls make wonderful engineers and scientists. We're left, right brain. We multitask better than any man. We're problem solvers. We're active listeners. I mean, just you name it. So we make great scientists. And so being able to run an organization that does invest in girls becoming scientists is very important. Now, the workforce that we're investing in right now is not the workforce that I'm focusing on with the work that the mayor appointed me to as this workforce development czar. We're focusing on a 25 to 64-year-old population, which is really the parents of the girls that we're serving. So if you think about a lot of the great stuff and strides that have been made in DSD with early college and P-Tech, that was great, but that was not around when these parents were there. And so we have multiple generations of poverty living in some of our zip codes. And so working on a program that will upskill, reskill, and get everybody into the game and give them the opportunity. I think the thing that's really you know, when we think about all of this holistically, this ecosystem of, you know, first generation and then, you know, the parents that didn't have these opportunities, the decisions that we make today and the decisions we made in the past have ramifications that are very hard to repair and to dig out of. And so this workforce effort that I'm embarking on, 40% of Dallasites live at or below poverty. guess what? It's all south of 30, just about. And so we've got to make sure that the decisions that we make going forward are the right ones that are going to make us a healthy, strong community and give everybody access to opportunities.
Wow. So I love that you're really thinking about workforce development from the very beginning all the way throughout the lifespan of a career. And also, can I just say the title Workforce Development Czar? I mean, that's
Czar is not that in fashion right now. It's a Russian word, and I don't know. I mean, it's that name came around. I'm just gonna kind of be out with it right here. So it is a strong word.
It's a very strong word. That's funny.
Yeah.
I don't even know how to respond to that, Lynn.
I know.
But I do want to talk about workforce development a little bit more. So you're kind of chipping away at these different phases of life. So can you talk about the differences and the similarities of each of these kind of sectors that you're working in?
Yeah, for sure. So, obviously the sector of Young Women's Prep, we're doing 6 through 12, and that's where we're investing. There's great work across our city in pre-K, and again, then early college and P-Tech and all of these things. And then in the workforce development, we're working on that adult, that 25 to 64-year-old, and getting them a skill, a trade, a vocation, a certificate, something that gives them a job. One of the statistics that has come out recently is that, we're growing as a region like crazy. I mean, we are growing. Well, when you peel back the layers and you look at Dallas proper, which is 1.4 million citizens, we actually lost 25,000 people last year, and we're not quite as healthy as the region looks. And so our work is very Dallas-centric, focused on Dallas. And so that's what we're tackling. Yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
That's incredible. So the theme of this forum is You Impact, which I love. So can you tell me about the importance of philanthropy and the different ways that we can advocate for belonging and inclusion within our networks?
Sure. I mean, philanthropy at the simplest terms is caring about people. It's giving back. It's not expecting anything in return for doing that. We can all choose to be in the game of philanthropy, be it our volunteerism, our ideas, our resources, and there's a place for everyone. Philanthropy at the highest level aims to find sustainable solutions for systemic problems, and there's lots of systemic problems all over. So there is space for everybody. So find your passion, figure out how you're going to enter the game, because our city and our community needs you.
Wow.
Yeah.
Who here has found their passion? That's good.
I think the other part I want to address too, and it was covered very well by Dr. Ford, so I can't eloquently talk about DEI as well as she did, but I think, we know, and part of your question was different ways we can advocate for equity and inclusion in our networks. And we know that we're going to solve problems faster when we're not all the same, and we're not all thinking the same, we don't all look at the same. So really being intentional and being critical of systems and organizations that don't reflect that, because we're not going to move as fast and we're not going to be as creative and solve problems. So I think, be critical, ask the question, and take action on that. When you're sitting on a board and it doesn't reflect the mission of the organization, we need to fix that. So.
All right, so speaking of inclusion, belonging, we're talking a lot about belonging today in this event. And I love that we've kind of seen threads of that throughout everything, right, with the other forums and with our presenters and everybody. So what are some things that you've specifically implemented in your work to really create that culture of belonging? And what are some things that we can take away from that as well?
I mean, belonging at a very basic level is, you want to make people feel included and important and part of what is being creative, part of the organization, part of the board, part of whatever initiative you have. And so, I am a very old school individual, and so technology, I use it because I have to, but I will tell you, there's nothing better than sitting down with someone, having a coffee, and really getting to know them. And I do that with all my employees, I do that with fellow board members. I mean, I think, and not just on a professional level, but also on a personal level, like what are their backgrounds, what are their interests, how can I help them, get to where they want to be. In the office setting, it's, we celebrate everything during office meetings, we definitely, it's all about recognition and, sharing out. I've had buddy systems before where we pair a new employee with someone that's been there a long time. I'm a big believer in mentorship and coaching. We have happy hours and lunches. So I think, and the handwritten note, I'm a dinosaur here with my handwritten notes and coffees. This stuff matters. I mean, connecting with people. The texting is not that connection. It's really not. It's a way to quickly, get information across, but it's not that human connection that we all need and that we all want that will make us all feel like we belong. So write the notes and ask people to coffee. You're sitting there going, there's no way I can do that. I've got too many employees. Okay. The CEO of the women's.
I just ordered some stationery, so I'm going to take your advice. I'm going to do that tomorrow.
I mean, it's a nice thing to do.
First thing on the list. I love that. So I'm a member of the Women's Leadership Institute within Texas Women's Foundation, and a lot of my cohort members are here today, so thank you guys for being here. But we're learning all about women in leadership and really kind of developing that muscle of leadership. And so this topic is especially relevant to me personally. I know a lot of the people in the room and online as well. So can you talk to me, digging a little bit deeper on women in leadership in particular, what are some things that have really helped you advance in your journey?
So I made a little list here. I have to have some cheat notes for this because I needed a lot of things, apparently. I think the first thing is you've got to have a clear and compelling plan of what you want to accomplish. If you're not clear and you don't have a plan, it's not going to work. You've got to remain focused on the goals that are going to move you towards that plan. And I ask myself that because we're all challenged with, things that are coming in our inbox, and the decisions you make, are they moving you towards your goals, or are you getting off in the ditch? And so I think it's focusing on that goal, that plan, what you're trying to achieve, and making sure that you're very intentional about the decisions you make that will move you towards that. Obviously, you have to have passion for what you do. I mean, passion is what kind of spurs me, energy. I have an abundance of that, and so that's not a bad thing either, because it will help when things get hard. This is a oldie but a goodie, teamwork. I mean, be on that team, build that good team. Communicate and be an active listener. I don't think anybody actively listens as much as they probably should. I mean, it's amazing when we, close our mouth, what we hear other people saying. And so I think and I have to focus on that because a lot of us are so busy, and you're thinking about what's the next question I'm going to ask, or what's the next scenario, or whatever is coming. How do I move this agenda forward? But stop and listen to people. They have a lot to say, and you're going to gain a lot by listening. Ability to make decisions. I always say the clearer your vision, the more quickly you can make a decision. So have clarity of vision and do the steps kind of before it. They're going to give you that ability to be able to quickly make a decision. And then kind of the last couple, hard work, determination, and doing it over and over and over and over. And then one last thing I was thinking of, and it's served me well. I can't do it as much anymore because I'm too busy, but kind of early in my leadership journey, I said yes a lot more than I said no. I said yes to opportunities that I didn't think I had any business, but somebody thought I had business doing it. I learned and I grew. The people that I met, the opportunities that I was given. So I think that, say yes more than you say no until you're plate becomes a turkey platter, and then you got to kind of back off and say maybe not as much. But I gained a lot, and put other people in those positions too that you see. I mean, ask them to be there because they'll grow and they'll fit right into it, and it'll work.
I love that.
Yeah.
So because I was actively listening to you, Lynn, I noticed that you already answered a lot of what this next question asked, but I'm going to ask it anyway.
Okay.
So do you have some advice that you can give to the next generation of women leaders coming up?
Oh, I mean, I think you've got to find your coaches and your mentors. You've got to find people that, we all want to help. I mean, we're all getting older and tireder, and we're waiting. We're like, okay, where is the cavalry? Who is coming that I can give this baton to? And I see a room full of these folks. And so I think find those mentors and those coaches that are going to help you get there. Again, it's about all the other things I said, and staying the course, making sure that you're making decisions that move you towards what those goals are, and enjoy the journey. I think enjoy. I've gained so much, and I've met so many people, and I've worked on things that are quite meaningful to me, and I know they've made things better for folks, and so that makes me happy, and it will make you happy too.
So last question. Lynn, tell us what it means to you to be the recipient of this year's Maura Award.
Well, when I was called about it, I was driving down Cedar Springs, and they're doing a lot of work, and I was like bumping along, and I think it was Deborah Hunter, somebody that called me, and I was like, what? And I was so moved. I barely catch my breath. I was so moved by this award because I've admired the work of, and used to be on the board for the Dallas Women's Foundation, now Texas Women's Foundation, and I certainly am aware of all the folks that have come before me, and so it's a very, I'm humbled and I'm honored, and I think we're all here for the same reason. We want to lift women up. We want all of us to be stronger. I mean, again, I go back to I had women all around me as a child, and there's nothing bad that came out of that. So lift your, I don't know, maybe, I don't know, but lift up the women around you. And, for me, anything I can do to help and give advice, it'd be a wonderful give back for me because I really am honored with this. So I would like to help if I can.
Well, thank you, Lynn.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Let's give it up.
Thank you, ladies. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure spending this time with you in great company and with all of these amazing women. And if there's any men, you too. I don't see any, but so Lynn, thank you again for leading this very important work, advocating for equity and inclusivity within systems and structures where it matters. You are very deserving of this award, so congratulations again. And Michelle, thank you. Thank you for bringing this forum to life and moderating this conversation with us. And we appreciate all of you being part of this celebration. We invite you to support women leaders at all levels if you aren't doing that already. Being here is that first step, so thank you. And also, you can find more information about Lynn and our other award recipients on our website is txwfleadership.org. And our reception begins at 6 p.m., but before we go there, I want to see if we have any questions from the audience. If anyone has any questions, you can go up to that mic. There's one. Go for it.
Lynn, thank you so much and congratulations.
Thank you.
Could you talk to us a little bit about resilience when you're either dealing with disappointments or things that are going slower than you'd like? I wonder if that's a part of that boundless energy. Then I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah, well, I think you've got to find things that let you release whatever tension and anxiety and stress you have. I'm a runner, so I spend a lot of time running it out, as I will say, and then having like a hot shower. Take a pause, take a breath, but I think you've got to find what that out is. And really identify when you're having those moments. I think sometimes things can get away from us. I'm a pretty measured individual, so they don't get it away from me as much. But it is that kind of speed at which I want to accomplish something. But what I learned through the years is the speed at which I want to accomplish something is kind of, it could be like, well, they're not going fast enough, I'm going to do it myself. Well, that's not helping bring anybody along. No one's learning. It's putting the burden on me. So I think, slow down, take a pause. And it's kind of like, when you see someone that's cut you off and they're going really fast, and guess what? They end up at the stop sign like 1 minute before you. I mean, it's like ridiculous. I'm like, did that aggressive behavior really matter that you got to the stop sign before I did? It's that same type of thing. So take a pause, take a breath, find what that out is though. And running and hot showers kind of do it for me. So, yeah. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Quintinetta, and first I have to thank my good friend LaDondrea Wilson for bringing me here today. And the reason being is because I'm in technology and I absolutely love technology. So I understand the feat that's ahead dealing with the 25 through 60-year-olds. That's a huge level of effort. So I honor you for taking on that effort. My question to that regard is that technology, there's so many facets. And that group is already somewhat behind the curve because technology moves at an accelerated rate. So do you have an idea of what that roadmap would look like, not only showing them the different pipelines involved with technology, but also when they're entering into those various spaces, how do they take up space in confidence? Because it's a different world.
For sure it is, and it's a great question. And our work is focusing on giving people jobs that are not going to become obsolete by automation or technology. And so really focusing on industry verticals, transportation logistics, IT, healthcare, manufacturing, and construction trades are some of the things that we've landed on because that's where the thousands of jobs are. And so, you know, the technology piece and the IT will be basic coding. And again, it's meeting that person where they are. And so this whole thing is like a puzzle. So you've got people that will come in that will have a certain level of skill that we'll need to work with and find. So we've got a technology called Rise Kit that we're looking at that's actually going to help us evaluate the person that comes in, that job seeker. And so we'll hopefully, you know, because technology is what's going to help this scale. Otherwise, we will not be able to scale it. So it's technology that's going to help us kind of evaluate where people are and then best match them with what we think they can be most successful at, because the goal is to get them successful and move them up and out of poverty and give them, you know, a way to kind of upward mobility in these different pipelines. But technology is a hard one. I think it will be basic coding and things like that we're looking at. So,
Thank
yeah,
you.
thank you. That's an excellent question, and I'll go back to, in 2019, I ran for the mayor of Dallas, and I probably spent the first 2 months, like, you know, dispelling the myths of who I was, and it's one of these things that, you know, by the actions, the way you comport yourself, and just the person that you are will prove up and dispel what those kind of things that aren't true about yourself are. I mean, I think, you know, I'm lucky in that I know myself, I know what I need to own and what I don't need to own, and I wasn't going to own that because that's not who I was, that's not how I was brought up, but it was through my actions and just being repetitive in how I conducted myself, which is how I am, and being authentic. But that's a good one, that's a hard one, but I think, you know, you have got to, and, you know, advocating for the things that bring, you know, inclusivity to organizations, and you know, being able to stick your neck out there and say, okay, that's not right, and I care about this, and it might not be, you know, the flavor of the day with people, but it's what you believe in. So, you know, I think know yourself, because you're obviously the same look as I am, and be authentic in what your actions are, and be consistent in what that is, and advocate for change and the things that you know, don't believe in. And, you know, it was funny, after a couple months, people were like, oh my God, she is not the person that I thought she was. And it's like, well, no, it's because, you know, you get to know someone, and you know, just stay authentic and stay true to who you are. And, you know, I don't know, I'm not going to dye my hair, I'm not going to go to links like that, but it's an important question. And it's also a question of, you know, how smart is that person? Is that person smart? You know, they got blonde hair and blue eyes, could they be smart? Well, I have a biochemistry degree, I'm not a dummy, so again, but it's about, you know, it's about proving yourself up through your actions, and dispelling, and not letting that stuff and those people define who you are. You know who you are, know what you need to own and what you don't need to own, and push back on that, and push back on it by, you know, with your actions. Yeah.
I think people can hear me. I'll speak a little bit louder. Thank you for sharing today. You know, I've got a lot of philanthropic dreams, and I'm an immigrant, grew up with, you know, so one of my decisions early on was, like, you've got to have money and networks sometimes to make a bigger impact. And I'm also really passionate about business models that are helping not organizations, but really societies and people to fish on their own, something that generates recurring value while it's making an impact. Not, you know, selling shoes and getting perfect percentage is one way, but also just fundamentally things that actually are rooted in driving good foundations. And I'm curious if you've encountered, you know, unique business models that really just kind of open up your creativity around how we serve communities.
Yeah, I mean, I think first identify what that systemic problem is that you're trying to solve for, and then know that we're never going to solve homelessness. I've spent 15 years on that, but we will find solutions that will sustain and hopefully have us be a community that can live together differently. So I think it starts with identifying what the problem is, and then seeing if there is an organization, do a landscape analysis of all the nonprofits that are in the work and say, okay, does this make sense? And that might be a good model if they did this. I mean, you don't need to reinvent the wheel that's rolling. You might need to add to that wheel. So I think, identify the problem, do a landscape analysis of the nonprofits that are working in that area, and then bring your creative know-how to that, and recognize that there's a lot of good work that's being done, but that creative, and your different lens is going to, on something will probably be a change. So, yeah.
And then I have one more follow-up.
Sure.
Are there, when you look at even young women and getting folks out of poverty, is, education is one way, maybe it's the best way. Have you found other areas, like, is there one that you would say, this is the best thing to focus on to get people out of poverty?
I mean, education. I mean, I think first, but it's it's complicated because it can be, education's very different. It can be a trade, a vocation, a certificate. So it's all levels of education. It might be a four-year college degree, but it's also giving them those wraparound services and that ability to be able to breathe and get that education. So it's, making sure that you've got adequate transportation, making sure that you've got childcare incentives, making sure that you're building a structure around them that supports them and lets them have the freedom to learn and to better, what their situation is. And so it's complex because adults, the older we get, the more complicated life gets, and we just have stuff. You might be a caregiver. So I think, look at things holistically and what you need to really support that individual where they are. So, yeah. Yep.
Yes, go ahead.
So I know you said you spent the first few months of the campaign. She's laughing because she's my friend.
I know, and she's a doll. She's wonderful. This is right.
And I want you to talk about this. So it's a golden question.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you spent the first few months dispelling the myth of you being this white savior coming in and doing this thing, but you also spent those first few months researching, getting to know people, and doing those calls that you were talking about intentionally. So can you talk a little bit about that and how you met people and built those?
Oh my God! Well, I probably met you. Running for mayor, not winning wasn't a good part, but it was a great race. I was the top finishing woman. It was a big race, and so I did okay. But I think it was the best experience that I've had of my life, honestly, because it really did. I thought I knew about the gulf between the South and the North. It's huge. It's much larger than anyone can imagine, and so it opened my eyes to a lot of things that I thought I had an understanding of, but I didn't. It let me get close to people that are living in those situations and really kind of understand where they were coming from so I could have a better understanding of how I might help them. It brought a whole world of friends into my life, and new issues that I care about and people that I care about. So, and it was something that people encouraged me to do that, again, I didn't think I could do. So when someone's encouraged you to do something, go for it. Put yourself out there. You're going to gain a lot more than you're going to lose. So.
I have a quick
Yeah.
comment and question. And I would say you gave me the courage to talk about this, just in terms of relationships. My name is Kim Hughes. I'm also first generation. And I want to be honest and say that I've never had this conversation about white savior. I grew up and everyone that poured into me did not look like me. Everyone that picked me up did not need to read or teachers, and there's a lot of reasons behind it. But don't get me wrong, I have my family, black family, poured into me every day. But in terms of coming
Yeah. It's a great question. Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, that's where technology comes in. I mean, it really is, honestly. And so I think we have 5,100 girls that we work with right now this year. And so we're constantly, engaging with them, and we build out an alumni program so that everybody's always connected. And guess what? You can have my cell phone. Anybody can have my cell phone. So I am, I'm like 7-Eleven. I'm always open. I want to help. And so, I think it's, I'm here. I don't know if that answers your question, but I think technology helps us keep up with kind of the bulk of the work. But the people that I care about, the people that are in my life, and the people that I want to help, they have my cell phone, and I'm readily available. And I have a lot of friends and a lot of heart for people. So, yeah.
Is there a way you measure if the amount of impact you make? You mentioned
No, I
now
think
you
you
get
can.
more asks.
Yeah. I mean, you can. I mean, obviously, with these projects, it's kind of like looking at CC. We worked on a campaign together. Well, the goal is going to be met. So guess what? The impact's going to be big, and that was check success, right? And then with our girls' schools, it's like how many girls graduate from high school and college, and where are they going? So that's a metrics. I think when you get into kind of how you're helping someone one-on-one, you have a feeling about it. It's a relationship, and when they're happy and they're sad and they need more. And that's why technology will not tell you that. That's why spending time with people and getting in their energy, and I think Zoom was great for, the purpose that it had. But I tell you, there's nothing like the energy of a room and being able to read people quicker and make decisions faster. So, but you gotta, technology is good for scaling. It's relationship-wise, it's just challenging. So.
Yes, thank you. Ladies, we are out of time. Thank you so much for this great conversation. Thank you all for joining us. Our forum will open, our reception begins at 6 p.m. So before you head that way, I invite you to please stop at our inspiration wall, make a little note of what nuggets you walked away with today or just what's inspiring you. So again, thank you. Lynn, congratulations again. So thank you, everybody.
That was great. Thank you. That was wonderful.